very welcome everybody, and we are very pleased that you joined our afternoon session in English about sustainability and green sports, especially green leisure sport events. And as you see, we are going to talk about how to become a more green city, how to organize more green top sport and leisure sport events, and the name of the program and the name of the session is City Green Go, a changemaker for sport and environment. We hope that this is going to be a good start, and it's also going to be a changemaker project and a changemaker session, let's say, but we hope it's more. Let me introduce first of all our first speaker. That's me. I was surprised as well because I expected someone else. But actually, yes, my name is Gyöngyvér Laca. I'm the head of the recreation department here, also head of recreation and health promotion studies. And also I was asked to moderate this session, which was a pleasure for me because we are trying to become a more healthy campus here, and sustainability and being green is one of our heart projects. So it's a pleasure for me to work with this excellent team on this lovely project and topic. So the first real guest is Dr. Bence Garamvölgyi. I would like to ask him to give a short introduction speech. Of course, with, because there are also online listeners, so online participants, so we always have to use the mic, because that's the only way they can also hear us, and it's also recorded, if you don't mind. Thank you.
So welcome everyone, welcome Mr. President, and welcome Gyöngyvér. Thanks for initiating the conference or the closing seminar. So my name is Bence Garamvölgyi. I'm the managing director of the Budapest Sports Service Provider, which is in Hungarian Budapesti Sportszolgáltató Központ. We operate key sport facilities of the municipality of Budapest, like the ice skate rink of the City Park, one of the best ones in the world, or maybe probably the best ones. And then we also have a small athletic stadium in the Margaret Island, and then we have various other facilities. So a couple of years ago, actually 3 years ago, when we initiated this City Green Go project, we built it on our strategy, which is based on 3 pillars. One, it's sustainability, economic and environmental sustainability. Second, digitalization. And third is internationalization. So we turned to the European Union for funding, and yeah, we got the funding for the City Green Go project within the Erasmus Plus framework. And then with my colleagues, with Reka and our distinguished international guests, I think we developed a pretty good project. And today is the time to introduce the outcomes of the initiative. So basically, once we started, we thought we wanted to raise awareness on environmental issues and the linkage and the link between sport and sustainability, health enhancing physical activity, especially in urban settings. As well, we wanted to build our international network. And yeah, I think we managed to reach the main goals. So I would like to wish fantastic and inspirational conversations, Gyöngyvér, and once again, thanks guys for joining this session.
Thank you very much, Bence. And now, please welcome Reka Veres. Reka is actually everything, but I need a paper for it, because I know a few things, but she's an EU sports policy expert, and the HEPA, if anyone knows what is HEPA, maybe. I think many of us is health enhancing physical activity promoter in Hungary, and also a head of City Green Go European projects. So please listen to Reka. She's going to introduce us the toolkit and the projects itself.
Thank you very much. Warm welcome also from my side. I will have multiple roles. First, just a short introduction to our project, which is a 2-year-long project, a cooperation of 5 prestigious international partners. You see the names of the partners here. BSK is the coordinator. We have Sport and Citizenship represented. All the partners are represented here in the room too. ISCA, International Sport and Culture Association, Sport and Sustainability International, based in Switzerland, ISINOVA, an Italian research institute, and as an associate partner we also have the municipality of Budapest. This is what we promote, as Bence mentioned, physical activity, health-enhancing physical activity, and while promoting it in an urban setting, we want to raise attention for environmental sustainability. Why? Why these priorities? Because of the urbanization tendency plus the physical activity tendency. I think at the University of Sport Sciences I do not need to explain it more. Because of the shortage of time, I will right now jump into our main topic. During these 2 years, with the partners, we developed a so-called toolkit, a guide for eco-friendly grassroots sport event organization, and we would like to share this toolkit with you during this session. My colleague Anita, representing International Sport and Culture Association, will go into the details of the toolkit. This is just the cover page. But if you will go to the City Green Go website, you will also find other additional hands-on materials. For example, other guides, how to use the toolkit in the framework of an online workshop or in the framework of an on-site workshop, and we have written down the way and a proposed program how to, let's say, lecture it, for example, in a university environment. If you want to use it, please look at it and use it. This is the website. You are warmly invited to visit it. And one outside connection, but not outside, because I'm also coordinator of the European Week of Sport here in Hungary, and I tried to integrate the two projects, the City Green Go and the European Week of Sport, the way that we have disseminated a Hungarian short version of the toolkit among the organizers of the European Week of Sport, and this way, this toolkit has been actually disseminated to operative level, to practical level, but I hope that this will reach, after this event, even more colleagues on the practical level. This is what I wanted to show to you, and thank you. I will be also a little bit of timekeeping role, so I give back the floor to Gyöngyvér, and if you hear like a little bit of noise later on, dear speakers, that will come from me, showing the sign of the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And please welcome our keynote speaker, Karim Abu Omar from Germany. And I must tell you, yes, that it's a great pleasure to have you here, because we were absolutely amazed by your lecture 2 years ago when Reka and I first heard you of talking about being green and more sustainable. Karim is a program coordinator for the MA Physical Activity and Health Department of Sport Science and Sport, Friedrich Alexander University, and also an absolute dedicated person to the topic. I will later on ask you to give some more introduction on your background, but now it's the time. So I should just let you start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor being here, and thank you for all being here on this important topic. It's an inconvenient topic. Sorry for this. This is never a happy topic these days. Yeah, but ultimately I believe we got to face this because the situation is simply serious. In a way, the world is on fire, and not in a good way, and that is due to the climate crisis. Yeah, and I show you here on that slide the global CO2 emissions since the beginning of the industrialization. And we produce CO2 emissions by burning oil and gas and coal. So it's very, very simple. And you see what we've done. We burn more and more and more. And this year will probably produce another record, as did last year. And you see the small dent there. That was COVID. So we were all locked down. And still that reduced CO2 emissions by 4% on a global scale. And the prognosis are not really good, that will continue. If we are lucky, there will be a plateau of CO2 emissions. Well, what happens with the CO2? It's very simple. It ends up in the atmosphere. And CO2 levels are measured in Mauna Loa Observatory in Hawaii. And you see it goes up and up and up. It's a very linear increase in global CO2 emission. And last year, in average, we went from 419 to 422 parts per million. That's how it is measured. And that's a record increase by 80%. So even the speed of increasing CO2 in the atmosphere is increasing. And you see the zigzag red line. These are the seasons. If the northern hemisphere is green, it sucks up CO2 from the atmosphere. And in fall, leaves fall, and CO2 increases again. And obviously the CO2 insulates what our atmosphere. It's called a greenhouse effect, and it gets warmer. And by doing this, by releasing more CO2, we increase the temperature. We had a temperature record last year, more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. So basically we already were shooting over the Paris Agreement that stipulates that we should limit global warming to 1.5 degree. We might hit 1.6 degrees this year. It might get a little bit better in the next few years because we have no El Nino effect around, but then it might increase again. So the summers we are facing, the winters we are facing now are actually the coldest we will face in our lifetime. All prognoses are it will get hotter and hotter and hotter. Germany is 2 degrees warmer than pre-industrial time. And the prognosis is if nothing drastic changes, this will go up to 4 or 5 degrees. And us as humans and plant life and animal life are not prepared for this. This is how it is. And from a public health perspective, this is a total disaster. This is just one study from Europe from 22, 61,000 deaths heat-related. And on a global scale, we talk about millions of people at risk now already. And nothing will get better if we don't change this burning coal, gas, and oil. It's just how it is. Okay, but now you ask me, well, what does this have to do with sport? Come on. Let's have a look. I guess as a background and why I'm standing here, we have to realize that we have changed over time the definitions of health that we have. A lot of times when we talk about health, what we traditionally mean the health of a person. Are you healthy or are you sick? These type of things. But then we expanded this to public health. COVID is a typical example. We were worried about spreading the virus. We wear face masks. We developed a vaccine to immunize ourselves. We are worried about clean drinking water and stuff like this. So that is a public health approach. But nowadays, when we talk about health, also in Europe, we talk about more holistic concepts. Eco-health, One Health, planetary health. Because I guess we realize, and that is, basically it's common sense, healthy people on a sick planet, how is this supposed to work? Will not work. So we have to worry about plant life. We have to worry about biodiversity. And we have to worry about the health of our planet, because we only have one. And that's why there is a shift in focus. It's not only good enough to worry about the health of people, but we need also to worry about the health of the planet. And I kind of apply this lens now to sport and exercise. Yeah? And if we do so, we kind of realize that we talk about a relationship that goes in both directions. Obviously, if it gets hotter, if we have more extreme weather events, it impacts how we do sport and exercise. We had in our city in Germany, in Bavaria, we had last year we had 39.5 degrees. That was a new record. Nobody wants to go out and exercise on these hot days. It's rather dangerous. Yeah? But we have to see at other places it gets warmer. In winter it's suddenly more nice. Yeah? Because nobody wants to do exercise outside if it's freezing. 10 degrees plus is kind of nicer. Yeah? So that's the one direction. How does climate change affect exercise and sport? But then obviously, how does sport and exercise affect climate change? Yeah? Because obviously, the way we do sport does cause CO2 emissions, does produce waste, yeah, and impact our climate. And so I'm focusing a little bit on this now. Yeah? And doing so kind of opens up a second dimension. So it's not only about the individual health effects of physical activity and sport and exercise, but also about the planetary health effect. Yeah? So something can be good for the person and good for the climate, but some other things cannot be. Yeah? And I will talk first about the win-wins, because that's easy and convenient. Things that are good for people and the planet. Yeah? And that is quite straightforward. Yeah? If people sit on a bike or walk, they don't sit in a car. And it's good for their health, and it's good for the planet, because usually the car produces emissions, even an electric vehicle. Yeah? Urban gardening is kind of the same story. Yeah? Gardening has a lot of health effects, so it's great, but it's also good for the planet, because cities heat up, and the more greenery we have in a city, the cooler they are. Yeah? And people, by urban gardening, they can produce regional food, fruit and vegetable, and that is healthy. Yeah? So sometimes we have those win-win situations. Things are good for the people and the planet. Perfect. We should promote those things. Yeah? But a lot of times, this is not really the case. Yeah? And I just pick a few examples here. Yeah? And that's where the inconvenience in the whole story emerges. Yeah, a clay court in tennis needs 450,000 liters of water per year. As long as we have enough water, that's not a problem, but we will not have in the future. Our prognoses are, and today a report came out on this, that we will run out of water in large parts of the world. Yeah? And then maintaining a clay tennis court might not be a good idea. A golf course is an environmental disaster. First, you could use the space for other things, yeah, producing green energy, yeah, growing food. Yeah. But then a golf course to be maintained needs a lot of insecticide and pesticides and water and everything else. Yeah. A study came out, I guess a week ago or so, and it's almost funny. How many golf balls do players lose in 1 year on a global scale? Actually, people are playing golf quite badly. The estimate is 1.5 to 3 billion. And that is billion. Yeah. Obviously, some of them can be retrieved, but a lot of them end up in water, in the ocean. And each golf ball contains forever chemicals, and they are released in the water. Well, then compared to golf balls, tennis is kind of easy on balls, because a professional match uses only 40 to 50 tennis balls. But still, 40 to 50 tennis balls, yeah? And each one of them is an environmental disaster again, yeah? Produced by chemicals and shipped in the global south, assembled into a tennis ball, shipped to the global north, played for 5 minutes and trashed. You can give it to dogs, but we don't have, luckily, not that many dogs. Yeah? And it goes on and on and on. Yeah? Here, a heated indoor pool in Germany will produce a lot of CO2. It just needs the heating in winter. Yeah? Skiing, yeah, on artificial snow. I mean, the Alps are running out of snow. Yeah? and ski resorts are already closing. Yeah? And you see how much energy and water a ski slope needs. And under the ski slope in summer there is no vegetation. Everything is dead. Yeah? So it's also bad for biodiversity. And how do people get to the ski areas? Most often by car. Yeah? So it kind of goes on and on and on. Yeah? And this is interesting, and we kind of stitched together these data. And you see here, and these are the black columns, that's the German person doing a given sport for 1 year and the CO2 emissions this person creates. And then you have the blue columns, and these are the country emissions per person. And if you look at this, you see the huge injustice and inequality. Yeah? Playing golf for Germany for 1 year on a recreational level causes more than 2 tons of CO2, just playing golf. Yeah? And that is much more than a person in Namibia in the global south emits all year. Yeah? And just happily flying to the New York Marathon produces 4 tons of CO2. It's a flying. Yeah? And that's as much as a person in Argentina emits. Yeah? So doing sport and recreational sport a lot of times can be good for the people but bad for the planet. And I haven't started talking about professional sport. Yeah. You see here, that is a study that came out a few years back, and you see here the travel emission, and these are just the travel emissions, yeah, of the major sports in the United States: basketball, hockey, baseball, and American football for 1 year. It's not the ballparks, it's not the travel of the fans, yeah, the training for air facilities, nothing. It's just traveling by plane, 120,000 tons of CO2. Inconvenient. I told you so. Yeah. And you see here motorsport, and you see here trail running. Yeah, not good for biodiversity, I have to say. And you see here the inconvenient questions that come with this. Yeah, what do we do with those sports that really have a high carbon footprint and are bad for the environment? Yeah, and how do we balance individual health gains with planetary health losses? Yeah. Is it still okay to fly to the Canary Islands for a week of hiking? I'm not so sure. Yeah, probably a net loss in health for the planet. Yeah, and who's allowed to use up the leftover CO2 budgets that we have? The pros or the grassroots recreational sports people? Yeah, so these are all tough questions, and don't ask me if I have answers. Yeah, but we have first to deal with those questions. Yeah, and that might be really tough. Yeah, so yeah, what can we do now? Yeah, and the project is a great example that we are doing things. Yeah, we are pushing. Yeah, but let's try to sort things a little bit out here. Yeah, yeah, system change, not climate change. Yeah, that's what the climate movement has on their billboard sometimes. And yeah, it's right. Yeah, just changing our individual behavior will not cut it. We need systematic change. Yeah. And a lot of times when I raise this issue, somebody raises their hand and says, but you know, why the sports sector? The fossil fuel industry should deal with it. China should deal with it. The United States should deal with it. Leave it out of sport. But no, I don't think that this is a fair way of putting it, but we can later talk about this. But yeah, the United Nations have made it clear everybody's responsibility, and also the responsibility of the sports sector. Yeah. And you could now also say, but look, we have so many wonderful policy documents. Yeah, it's all out there. The European Green Sport Charter, Sport for Nature, everything. Yeah, if you look at those global documents, yeah, awesome. Yeah, everybody promises everything. Keeping those promises is a different story. A lot of those promises are just hot air, unfortunately. Yeah, we have a long track record that those promises on reducing CO2 emissions, increasing biodiversity are broken very silently. Yeah, but for the moment, you get a lot of good press if you promise something, even if it's not achievable. Yeah. So yeah, very simple. Yeah, we might need to start thinking about changing structures of sport organizations, federations. Yeah, and it needs to be part of their day-to-day business. Yeah, a lot of times when I work with federations, my impression is that's a thing on their to-do list that is kind of more low on the agenda. Yeah, and that obviously is not okay. And we need accountability. Yeah, those people in charge have to be accountable. Yeah, and they can only be accountable if those organizations really put objective and quantifiable measures out there and reduction targets. Yeah, just stating that they're going to see how that they cut emissions with no clear goal will obviously not be enough. Yeah, and then the simple things. You should all federations should divest from fossil fuels. Yeah, a lot of times fossil fuel companies like to invest in sport. We call it sport washing or greenwashing. Yeah, and we should stop this. And also when it comes to sponsorship money, yeah, car manufacturers or the like. Yeah, the German national team football is funded by Audi. Yeah, that's a typical bad example. Yeah, and by Lufthansa. Yeah, we shouldn't allow those things to happen. Yeah, and yeah, ask the difficult questions. Yeah, and the toolkit, and you will later hear more about it, is a good example. Yeah, by just putting those questions up. Well, you know, shouldn't we have the next event all vegan? Yeah, you put up difficult questions, and people start to oppose and find arguments that this is impossible and everything. Yeah, but then usually nobody dies by eating vegan food for a day. Yeah, and that's also healthy for people and the planet. So it should be a no-brainer. Yeah, and that's also something that is still new. Yeah, we should focus on sports that have a smaller carbon footprint. Yeah, from table tennis to round ball or spike ball, there are a lot of sports. Yeah, that you can do in the urban spaces that don't require much space, they don't require much equipment. These are the sports we should grow. Yeah, yeah, and that's now back to behavior change. Yeah, ultimately, yeah, we need policy changes. We need changes in the structures of the federations, the sport clubs. But then again, how do we get those? By behavior change. Yeah, for sociologists, structure and behavior are always intertwined. Yeah, and usually what we need to do is we have to say, no, we don't let you get away with greenwashing and sport washing. No, yeah, we want real change. Yeah, and when we go to the behavioral level, these are the things that are kind of common sense. Yeah, 80% of the emissions of a sport event are usually caused by traveling there. So we need to reduce the travel distances. We have to do our sport more regional. Yeah. And if we have to travel, then it's probably a very bad idea to take the plane. It's a bad idea to take the car. And it's a good idea to take public transport or walk or cycle. It's even good for health. Yeah. And then seasonality. Yeah. So swimming, it's probably nice to do it outdoor in summer if this is possible. Skiing, yeah, if there's natural snow around. And if not, don't do skiing. Yeah. So very common sense. And thinking about the carbon footprint, yeah, using sports that doing sports that have few equipment. These are the things that are really great and easy. Yeah. So in a way it is easy, yeah, but in a way it's also difficult because on top of behavior change, we need structural change. Yeah. But we have to remember this. On a dead sport, we don't have to worry. On a dead planet, we don't have to worry about sport. And we don't have to worry about science anymore. An inconvenient truth. Yeah. And one more thing before we go into the discussion. There's a brief survey, and it would be great if you take part. It has been developed by the HEPA Europe Network. Just 3 questions. How concerned are you and how concerned is your organization when it comes to climate change and sport? And with this, I close and thank you for your attention.
Just a small present. Just a small present. Thank you very much. Yes. So we give you the 1.5 minutes to fill the questionnaire, and then we go further. Yes, and yeah, let's do it now, right? It's 2 minutes, Karim. We do it now. Yeah, it's just 1.5. Everyone is on the phone. Yes, and now it's legal for all the young students to be online and using the phone, so it's good. Time is over and we have to go further. Thank you very much, Karim, from the very inspiring but also terrifying speech that you gave us. As I just told you, I'm an alpine skier. It's always a guilt skiing on artificial snow, but it's very hard to find anything else lately in the season, especially in the beginning and the end of the season. And also as an event manager, I'm really looking forward to the next presentation by Anita Kirai, who is going to provide us a toolkit about how to organize our events more green and more sustainable, because I think we are all responsible for this planet, also not only at the private level or a family level, but also as organizers and future organizers of either top sport or leisure sport events. So please welcome on board Miss Anita Kirai. And she's going to show you the toolkit. It's not very green, but it's a mistake of our printer that we have 3 copies of the toolkit. So if anyone wants, then this is the green version. I can give you this one, and I will just show it around. You can see it in the meantime. And
hi, everyone. Let's jump into it. Today I will be talking about the toolkit that Reka and Karim has already mentioned. It is a guide, basically, that will help you organize eco-friendly grassroots sport initiatives. First, I would like to set the basis by explaining why this was very important for us to create, because we wanted to help everyone who is willing to shift the focus towards eco-friendly grassroots sport event organization. it is very important to highlight that it should be used as an inspiration rather than a list of requirements that must be met right upon the start. And the toolkit was also developed to suit the needs of everyone, municipalities, organizations, sports clubs, environmental clubs, to organize their own events. Another very important thing is that the toolkit itself is filled with hands-on information, ideas, tips, guides, a bunch of questions that help you guide through the process of organizing an event, like I mentioned. Okay, so a quick overview of the content itself. It is comprised of 5 different chapters. Today I will be focusing on chapter 4, which are the key steps to be taken. And you will find information in the first chapter about the current situation based on scientific findings. In the second chapter you will find information how eco-friendly events influence our everyday lives, or how they have their social impact. In the third one, the third chapter presents the 7 principles around which the toolkit is basically built on. And the last one, obviously, the resources. It collects best practices, research reports, scientific papers, whatever you may need for the organization of such events. Okay, so let's jump into chapter 4. Organizing an eco-friendly event is not an easy task, but it is always worth the struggle, basically, because you know that you do something for the environment, you do something for your and your or for the future generations' well-being. The very first step is preparation, and it comprises of 3 sub-steps, if I may say it like that. The very first is analyzing the situation. So in this step, you analyze the status quo, you analyze what has been going on in your organization, how you have implemented your previous projects or previous events. The task here is to identify as many issues as possible, but it is also recommended to identify them one by one, because when you identify the issues that you have been facing, then you will be able to fix them or take action to fix them. The second sub-step is diagnose the organization's state of play. We have already been talking about carbon footprint today, but just a quick recap. That is basically the greenhouse gases emission by the organization or by a person over a period of time, and it is always expressed in CO2 and in metric tons. But how will you be able to use the results that you received in analyzing your organization or the status quo in the first step to create a low carbon strategy? First, you need to specify the reference frameworks. You can specify the tools and the challenges of the measurement whatsoever. In the second step, you can start working on the solutions that will reduce the emissions that you identified in the first step. As a third step, which we called offsetting in the toolkit, that is the means to create positive balance to all the unavoidable carbon emissions with the emergence of the sustainable projects that you are looking into. It is very important that to have the perspective on the sources of emissions, to identify which processes within the organization or within the project emit the most and the least CO2 in order to take action against them. How? You will find free calculators everywhere on the internet, but the most recommended ones are included in the toolkit, so that's why I also highly recommend to check out the toolkit. Okay, without getting deeper into this slide, because this is one of the pages from the toolkit, these are the key pillars for the reduction. This chapter in the toolkit gives you an insight about which focus areas could be most helpful when reducing carbon emissions in your events. One might not even think that the transportation or the traveling of spectators and participants to an event produce one of the most or the highest amount of CO2 for an event. In the first sub-step, we talk about math. Sustainable practices can help eventually reduce costs and also become or they can attract new sponsors. The second key step in the preparation process is planning. Planning systematically and with a clear focus on eco-friendliness is one of the key factors in achieving the previously clearly defined goals and high quality results. The planning phase, I like to call it the phase of questions, because this is when anybody who has ever organized anything in their life knows that there are basically 5 questions that you want to answer: the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and maybe you can also add the how as well. And in this phase, you have to consider many different aspects, as you can see on the photo, basically, because once you set once you clarify where you want to hold your event, or when you think about where you want to hold your event, you have to consider transportation aspects. Is it easy to access? Is there public transportation? Is it easily accessible by bike? Are there bicycle racks? Can I bring locally produced food there? Can I donate the leftover food to charity? Is the packaging really necessary, what I want to use in my event, or do I need all that decoration? And last but not least, it is very worthy to consider that do I have oversight over the cooling or heating system of the facility that I'm about to use, or can I simply go and organize my event outside, outdoors, where I can use the sun instead of lighting, or stuff like that need to be considered. And in this chapter, in step 2, you will find a ton of questions help you guide through the organizing process. I just want to showcase some of the tips and ideas that are included in the toolkit. You will find a bunch of them. Due to time constraints, I'm not going to go deeper into the details, but yeah, building partnerships. So every event can only get better if you build on partnerships. You can diversify the expertise, you can diversify the knowledge base that your event is based on. It's just a list of to-dos, but I was just shown that I have 3 minutes, so I just will skip it. So a quick glance of the best practices that we collected or the good practices that we collected in the toolkit. A couple of them are great example. A couple of those which are a great example of building partnerships and how partnerships can shape the future in that sense as well. The fourth step, the one before the last, is communication. Obviously, when you communicate before, during, and after your event, you want to reach as many people as possible, but you still have to consider whether you want to do it digitally or physically. Both of them have their pros and cons, which you have to consider based on the needs and the requirements of your event, but these communication methods can convey ideas that are listed here on the slide, which is protect the environment, raise awareness of a certain issue within the sustainability topic, and you can also promote your actions. Very important, do not lie. Use the results that you have. Be transparent. That's one of the main information in communication. Regarding eco-friendly communication, it is very important to note that always think twice before you start designing your communication tools like banners, beach flags. Do you need them? Is it necessary? Do you necessarily want to use them? Can you use other methods to communicate about your project or highlight your event? One of my favorite things in communication is the celebration part, because you are almost over the whole process and you can give feedback and ask for feedback from your partners to constructively look into the future and see how you can do things better. And one of my previous bosses told me that don't leave the praise of ourselves to others because it will fall short in the end. And that is very true, because we have to give feedback to our partners and to everyone that worked with us to appreciate their efforts and also to receive constructive criticism to get better. The very last step is evaluation and monitoring. Of course, I have listed a huge ton of questions that you can also find in the toolkit, which will help you set clear goals in the beginning that you can use. Well, this table on the left side of the slide, you can use from the very beginning to monitor what you have done, where are you on the road, how you could be better, how you could change things to make things better. And then, of course, in the end of the program, you will have to evaluate. Did you achieve what you wanted? Did you achieve it in the quality that you wanted? I will not read out the questions, but they're all available in the toolkit. And I'm not sure if I still have time, but no, I don't have time. Okay. Well then, that's it then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anita. A small present. And probably you all know that after 50 minutes of sitting, at least, we need a 5 minutes moving break. We have to move a little bit, so please welcome on board our students from the Recreation and Health Promotion Studies, third-year students, Christina and Bernadette, and they are going to make you move. And yes, so get ready, please, because now it's their time. Much, Bernie and Christy. You can be very proud of yourself because this is the only green and this is the only active section of the whole conference, because we are the only ones who have the active break, and we are the ones following all the suggestions of WHO and promoting physical activity. So I think now it's again time for a great speech and a great presenter. Let me introduce Viktor Zico, sustainability specialist and a professional mountain biker. So now we are going to get a look how to be an extreme and outdoor athlete and also how to be sustainable and green. So please welcome Viktor, and we are looking forward to have some good tips.
Hello, everyone. I reckon 10 minutes are just enough for a quick introduction, but let me try to convey the message here. So my name is Viktor Ziho, and I'm a sustainability specialist and mountain biker. And I do execute endurance expeditions, mostly remote in the mountains, as my passion is doing activities in the mountains. Mostly mountain biking and also climbing and mountaineering, but recently I'm mostly focusing on mountain biking. So why we are here is, the reason why we are here is that we want to change something, right? So we would like to achieve step by step, getting closer to sustainability, right? So what can we do? We heard a number of great lectures just in the last hour. So what can we do now? So first of all, we should get our consumption levels a little bit lower, right? So regarding transportation, regarding food supply, and also space heating, and using services, buying products, everything results in energy use and resource use. So I would first of all have a look at the transportation sector, because as I'm a sustainability specialist, I already conducted an LCA comparison of different means of transportation. So access to the location where you go, it can result in 85% of greenhouse gas emissions reduction if you are using public transportation and other means of sustainable transport instead of using an SUV alone. And that's a huge number, right? 85%, that's immense. So as we've seen in the previous slide, around 8 tons per year per capita is our emission in Western countries like Germany or in Hungary too. It's a very similar number. 8 tons per year. Researchers state that we should get down to between 1 and 2 tons of CO2 per year per capita. And that's a huge reduction, and we have to step a big for that, right? So 85% would be kind of a target reduction, I think. I made a research, an LCA research about the Hungarian means of transportation. Maybe it's not very well visible from behind, but I'm going to show you very quickly a couple of means of transport. I'm going to highlight them. So what we see on this column is the emissions in kilograms CO2 per 100 passenger kilometers. We can compare everything in that measurement tool. But what do we have to focus on? These different colors here symbolize the different stages of the transportation. So first of all, you're using a vehicle, right? So while you're using a vehicle, you're consuming whatever energy. And that results in emissions usually. Not in every case, but most of the cases it does. Also, there is the yellow one. Here is the well-to-tank stage of the use, when the energy must go to your tank. For example, when you're using an electric vehicle, the energy, the electricity must be transported and transmitted to your battery. Or, in case you're driving your bicycle, then you have to get your food transported to your tummy, right? Or whatever. And also there's an infrastructure construction. When we build roads, when we build railroads, that also results in emissions. So we can have a look at how much road we are using with a car, with a kilometer, with making a kilometer. And that's just a little number, but it also matters. Also, we have to maintain and operate this infrastructure, and there is a rolling stock production that, for example, we have to make cars, we have to make carriages for trains and stuff like that. So you can see the highest number here is around 38 kilograms per 100 passenger kilometer for the SUV use. So that's the worst we can do for the environment, for our children's future. And what is the best? Here is the bicycle with an average Hungarian diet. We can see it's under 5 kilograms. But if we are eating steak and hamburgers, it results in a much higher number, right? Or if we drive the bike vegan, then it's just half of the normal diet's number. It's just 2.5 kilograms. So it doesn't really matter what we are eating and how we are driving a bicycle, how we are stroking the pedals. Here are the life cycle numbers for electric bicycles. They are also very mild numbers. And here are the electric motorbikes and electric scooters. They also look pretty good, right? Okay, let's go for the motorbike. It's a slightly higher number. And here are the public transportations. So from here till this point, we got a lot of data from the BKV, the public transportation provider of Budapest. And we can see the metro lines here. They're pretty good with carbon emissions, the trolleybus and the diesel bus, CNG bus and the electric bus. And here are normal cars, pretty high as well. And the mid-haul flight, if we are flying, that results in around 11.5 kilograms per 100 passenger kilometers. What about electric cars? A huge deal, right? Yeah. 15 kilograms per 100 passenger kilometers. That's greenwashing, what I call greenwashing. We are using an LPG car, liquid petrol gas car. There's not too much difference between the LPG car and the electric cars. So it really matters what we are counting, and this one really counts here, the intensity, the carbon intensity of producing batteries for these huge cars, 80 or 100 or 120 kilowatt hours battery packs. They consume a lot of energy, of course. Not talking about eutrophisation, which is also immense. So yeah, I think due to the lack of time, I have to jump over the next slide. I'm doing expeditions, as I told you. This is just one image from a mountain biking expedition. When I went to Pakistan 2 years ago, I avoided flying easily. I just took the trains and the public transportation everywhere. I took the buses, I took the trains, and that's how I ended up in 1 week in Pakistan to go mountaineering. And I ended up in the mountains of North Pakistan in the Attabat Lake. And during this expedition, what kind of meals, what kind of drinks I drank. It's also a focus of the presentation, because I think when you do sports, you can really shift yourself sustainable with changing your diet and changing the ways what you are drinking. I use solely bottles, these kind of cycling bottles. I had 2 of them. And I had water purification system, and I haven't used any single way bottles in 1.5 months. 0. Just like how I do at home. So during a year, I might use maybe 2 or 3 single-use bottles, only when I forget my own bottles at home, and I have to, I have to buy whatever. I also use food saver boxes, which is pretty important when you go bulk shopping. In different parts of the world, you will find bulk shops. For example, in Eastern Turkey, what do you think about Eastern Turkey? What a place. What's your imagination? I think most of people just think that, okay, that's a poor area of the world and nothing's happening there, shepherds everywhere. And I found the biggest bulk shop in Eastern Turkey in a place called Tatvan I ever seen in my life. Honestly. And you can just go there, go with your food saver boxes and fill them with everything what you can imagine. It's incredible. You can go to the dairy shop, you can go to the butcher. You can just take your food savers and they will put whatever you want in your food savers. And no one uses plastic then. And it's insane. Also, as we mentioned before, it's very important what you are eating, how much vegan or vegetarian food you are eating compared to meat consumption. So I'm trying to reduce my meat consumption. I'm not vegan and I'm not completely vegetarian, but I eat around half as much meat as, for example, my parents do. So that's the way you can do endurance sports sustainably with just a little compromise. And that's how you can act for a more sustainable future. And that's how you can preserve the snow and ice naturally in our mountains, like here in this picture. So thank you very much for your for being here and for welcoming me, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much. I guess there is a small present. Maybe you will see this little present on top of some high mountain somewhere in Asia or South Africa. Please use it. And now a very brave question. Who arrived with an SUV here? Yes. The small one, yes, yeah, of course, just because of the family. Any electric car users here in the audience? Yes, one. What about public transport? Who arrived by public transport? Very good, well done. Yes, can I say Karim, Victor, well done. Cycling, so who arrived by bike? Okay, great, 2 brave ones. I'm sorry to say, but as a female, it's a little bit difficult to cycle like that, so maybe that's a bad excuse because it's also possible to change clothes in this building, but still. And what about walking? Anyone was taking a walk? Congratulations, you did. And please don't ruin our great feelings of your walk. But anyway, I think now we are quite clear what we need to change when we organize events. Now we feel a little bit guilty, all of us event organizers, that if we do it well or not. And then probably you have also been thinking of your own sports. We have young climbers here in the room, I know, so maybe they get inspired by Victor now changing their habits, and also us. from all different areas of sport. But now I think maybe the most interactive part of our session is the roundtable discussion that comes. And I would like to ask our guests to join us here in the virtual podium. It's Karim, please come here and join us. So the ones who arrived later, Karim is a program coordinator for the MA Physical Activity and Health Department of Sports Science and Sport, Friedrich Alexander University, and as far as I know, a vegetarian. And you can see the great plastic bottle that he was taking over from Germany, I guess, to this meeting. And then please welcome Ms. Kristina Csobai, the president of the Hungarian Green Sport Organization, with also a plastic bag, a bottle, a reusable bottle. And then Maxine Schuster. I was actually trying, practice before. Was it okay or not? Perfect, okay. Head of sustainability consultant for major and as well grassroots sport events from Sensi. I think we are now getting into truth, and we have to ask you how you arrived here from your country. Two of our guests are international guests, so let's see. What about you, Karim? How did you arrive? And I'm sorry, I have to pass the mic.
Yeah, no, obviously I came by train, and all 4 trains that I took were half an hour to an hour delayed, so I missed no connection. It was perfect. Yeah, but yeah, seriously, I mean, obviously I could not come here, talk about climate, and have flying here. Yeah, I guess we got to walk our talk. Yeah, and credibility is important.
Should I say something? Because I'm local, so it's really easy, but I came by public transportation because I have a nice pass for a bus because there is reduced fare for people who have more children, and as I have 3, I had this pretty cheap pass, so yes.
And with my 2 colleagues answering before me, I just don't want to answer that question. Now, I'm coming from Marseille. I don't know if people are familiar, but there is no direct transport from them. And I have 2 kids, which is not an excuse, but I can't spend a week traveling. So I did my best, so I went to Paris by train, so at least I didn't take 4 planes and only 2 direct to come here. Sadly, because of this Stick and Go project, I can't have flight anymore for the next 2 years. I did my best to save as much as CO2 over the past events, the Olympics and Rugby World Cup, which I hoped I could use for myself, but because of this project now, I can't take the plane anymore for the next 2 years. So yeah.
Of course, the question was not to embarrass anyone in the room, but just to see, we have all, I think, our great excuses, and maybe it's not an excuse, maybe it's really a reason why we use those means of transport, and there is always a reason why we should and why we do organize our events as we do, but at least the first step is always to get to know the ideal way, and then change, and then making a decision. And probably after all this, we made some small decisions, and Maxime probably, and also colleagues here. But I'm also very curious about, and please tell us about your network. How far is the level of environmental awareness in your sporting network? So how is it now? Because I think probably we all know we should change, but it's very difficult to change. So how far it is at your network? And we can start from here now.
Well, I started to work 12 years ago in sport events, so I've been lucky enough to work with marketing agency, federations, clubs, leagues, moved to UEFA, worked to Roland Garros, for Eurosport, for the media, and then I'm still working with those actors now as a freelancer. and sadly, the answer to the question is quite low. From 1 to 5, what would you say? I would say 2, because they are a bit forced to, but it's not really well known. Of course, we have some good examples. For instance, the big events I've been able to work on, which have been committed to some certification. For instance, the ISO 20121, some of you might know. It forces you to basically spread sustainability in all departments. So, for instance, I've been sustainability champion in my department back in the time for UEFA at signage. So maybe we can have, I don't know, Florian, if we had the update of the slides, if we have, so just maybe, yeah. So we had a few achievements that you could see right here. Well, on the top left part, it's part of the signage I had in Lens, north of France, that has been sent to Zaatari camp in Jordania to help women to play in football. And most of that, more than that, we managed to reuse pretty much in between 10 and 15 tons of material for the Euro. So you can see right here on the bottom part, it's like painting work. We've been using PVC banner to do that. You will be able also to see that the material we can make out of it has been improved a lot. I have a few examples from the Rugby World Cup and the Olympics. So this was Euro 2016, so quite an awful bag that no one would take, but you will see that we have now better things. And the thing is, yeah, for the material we have for the event, there are plenty of reuse possibilities, especially in construction work, because those materials have some kind of specificities. So here you can see like a kind of protection banner here for construction work. Before it was like a same banner for media coverage, and then here for geothermal protection. So a few achievements, and we won a special prize from ISO. And then after that, I've worked for the Euro 2020, which has been postponed in 2021 because of COVID. And the full stadium I was dealing in Bucharest was full of vinyl. So vinyl, you know what it is, it's an adhesive, you put it and then you remove it and then you just have to put it to the bin because you cannot reuse it, it's impossible. So yeah, then I could told you also about the Rugby World Cup. I was also in charge of the signage for the 10 stadiums. And then sadly, when I asked to the sustainability team, what do you have planned? Do you have any bins? Anything to sort out the waste? They told me they had 1 bin per stadium, which is not even the legal requirement. Normally it should be 5 at least. So I organized myself a few things with the volunteers, with the logistics, with the transport, and some NGO charities. If we can go to the next slide briefly, you can see how it goes. So that's what we've done. Pretty much 35 tons of material which have been sorted out with panels, PVC banner, fabrics. And most of them have been used to construction work, agriculture, many other fields. And we also have proposed and worked on some reuse aspect. So still at the global level, it's still quite low. But I would like to finish with a positive word regarding the Olympics of Paris 2024. We'll be able to talk about it. It was not perfect for sure, but I think they try to set up new standards, more responsible ways of buying, second life, end of life, and more like sustainable criteria in the procurement strategy, which basically has forced all the suppliers, all the value chain to think about sourcing, transport, product life cycle, etc., etc. So if there is a good legacy for that, I think that would be the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I represent a Green Zone Association. We are working in Hungarian level, and the activities are similar to what Maxim does. We've been working on event greening projects since 2010. So it's almost 15 years by now. We are focusing on all kind of events, and one part of this is sports events. We work on the triathlon championship in 2010. It was the very first sports event to make it more sustainable in Hungary, and then we were responsible for the greening program last year at the World Athletics Championship. So it's a long way, and we are focusing mostly on the waste reduction and managing the waste. We are on the field, so it's really active greening, I can say, because our waste savers are on the field and try to collect the most of the recyclable material from the waste on the field during the event. And we separate the waste to 8 fractions, and then the clean waste is go to recycling. We also have educational stand called Zero Waste Stand, where we try to educate people, not only the children, the people, the society, how to live eco-friendly lifestyle, how to make changes in our behaviors. Yeah, and we are a Hungarian environmental NGO and have different programs for to be a change maker in the society's behavior.
Can you give us like 1 or 2 good examples that you already have experienced during this work with the sports events organizers, please?
Yeah. Greening is working well when the organizers team have a dedicated person to do it, for sure. That's my first advice for the future organizers, to have it. And the other is to be active, so it's not enough when you put selective bins on the area of the events. You have to have a dedicated team for that, to be on there, and it's not the cleaning stuff, it's an environmental stuff, and they can involve the visitors as well, the participants as well, to help to be the event more sustainable.
How is it in Germany and in your network?
No, I mean, I'm a researcher. I have a lot of contacts with professional associations such as HEPA Europe or ISCA or TAFISA or Sport Federation, Sport Island, German Gymnastic Federation and stuff. And I have to say, on a scale from 1 to 5, I give them a 1.2. Most federations are just getting started. Yeah, and what strikes me the most is when I talk to these organizations, I never feel that they have a sense of urgency. I always have the feeling it's for them more or less business as usual. It's one more topic they have to deal with, and it doesn't have a high priority on their list. They deal with it, they do certain things, yeah, but they want to manage it in a certain way. They never take responsibility for CO2 emissions. And the underlying problem, and why I give them such a bad grade, is they still all want to grow. The Ski Federation wants to grow, the Surfing Federation wants to grow, the Volleyball Federation wants to grow, and they all want to grow and globalize their sport. And that's a nice thing to do. But we live on a planet where we cannot grow indefinitely. Yeah? And all science points in the direction that growth and green growth will not work. Yeah? The studies show we have to degrow. Yeah? There is no doubt about it from a scientific perspective, but go and tell this is ski federations. They think they can grow green. Yeah? And if they don't make this switch, yeah, it will cost all of our futures. It's unfortunate. And it's also this generational thing. I mean, if you come into a leading position in these organizations, you are usually as old as I am. Yeah? And of course, yeah, I can say 20 years, yeah, and then I'm dead. So why should I care? Yeah? But the young people are the ones that will suffer the consequences, our children and grandchildren. Yeah? But they never have a say. Yeah? And that is not fair. And so, yeah, things are happening, yeah, but it's still far from being enough. Yeah.
Can you give us one or two good examples? Some federations who are the best, or any good examples that they changed, and it's a real change on your scale as well?
On my scale, I have no good example. Yeah, I mean, what I see is in Germany, a federation that is quite progressive is the German Gymnastics Federation. Yeah, they host big events and they try to integrate sustainability and education for the sustainable development goals into those events. Yeah, but I analyzed for them all the travel, and I told them, well, you know, if you want to really reduce your emissions, you got to do your main sport events that they do all 4 years. It's 80,000 people, so it's a big event. You have to do it in Frankfurt. Frankfurt is in the middle of Germany, and that reduces travel. And you know what they tell me? Well, yeah, Frankfurt is boring. We want to go to Berlin or Hamburg or Munich, and I can relate to this. These are nicer cities than Frankfurt. But this doubles the CO2 emissions for the event. We don't talk about a little bit. We talk 50%. Yeah, and that's unfortunately the state of the German Federation. And this is the most progressive one I know.
Thank you very much for all the good and bad examples, and maybe there is hope at the end. And the next question is, what do you consider to be the most urgent environmental problems in relation to sporting activities in your community, and why? So the most urgent ones, please.
Well, I think what Karim just said a bit before is very easy. Like, the most urgent one is definitely the carbon footprint. Everyone is starting to measure, started to understand exactly what they need to do, but really few, as he mentioned, are really starting to tackle this in the good way. So. What's the question about this? Yeah, carbon footprint and maybe biodiversity, which was a topic that didn't exist and we didn't talk about it in sport events over the past few years, and now it's starting to grow, this topic. For the first time, I worked on the sustainability part of the Olympics in Marseille for the sailing part, and one of the main pillars of the global sustainability strategy was to include the protection of the biodiversity, which was for me like a first time. And it's quite interesting to start thinking about it, because when you talk about the SDGs and all the main objectives we have to fix, the biosphere and the biodiversity are really crucial if we would still want to live on the planet and having the rest of the activities. So it starts to be interesting to see action plans and methodology to make sure that the Posidonie, for instance, the state of the ground under the sea, what are your impact? Can you restore it after your event? Because even if you can hear some even talking about carbon neutral, forget about this idea. We are never neutral. We always have an impact, and measure the state of this before, how it is, and what we've done after our event, and how we can restore it. It's, of course, it should have been a priority since a long time already.
Yeah, I totally agree, because an event never can be green, in a sense, because there is emissions, of course, when a public is held. And as I mentioned, we are handling the waste. We manage this on events. So for us, the biggest problem is the waste that is related to the carbon emission as well. And it's a funny thing because in the organizers we see they are try to organize waste collection or talking about selective waste collection, but the problem is not there. We are not at this stage. We have to reduce the waste that the event would produce. So we would like to work on it to change this thinking about the waste because it should be reduced.
Yeah, again, the science is quite clear. If there's one thing we should try to limit, then it's the travel emissions. Yeah, and Victor just said it in his presentation. It's 85%. Yeah, so that means, and that again is inconvenient because it means the waste management and the vegan food and the eco-friendly clothing. They will not factor in much. It's where the event takes place. And that basically means a sustainable event is one that does not take place at all. That's, again, very, very inconvenient. But it means that for organizing league play, for scheduling tournaments, yeah, the biggest question is where do we do this and how do people get there? And can we get them to walk and bike and use public transport? Yeah? And can we clearly tell them, if you have a large SUV, don't even dare to drive it to our event. There will be no parking for you. Yeah? We talk about those type of measures that really would make a difference.
Thank you very much. I'm sitting here also as an event organizer, that we organize like really huge mass leisure sport events here in Hungary, sometimes 20,000 people. And of course we work with partners, very many partners, and of course profit is sometimes important, or if there is no profit because it's a non-profit event, then you have a budget, and the budget is very, very, very tough issue most of the time. And as far as I see in the audience, I see event organizers, I see also some colleagues from academics, some students, and also I really believe that we are really missing some organizers from here, especially from sports. I don't see many, just a few, for instance, from sports clubs, and also from big sport organizations. So I don't think it's very easy to change as an organizer. At least we raise the attention on the topic. That's the first thing. That's what we are trying to do now, and we can see part of the sports organizers are already here interested. That's already the first step. And now we have this great toolkit as well. And honestly, we really tried tough during the European Week of Sports to use the toolkit on one of our big events, the Night of Move, and it was not very easy, especially because of the budget, also because of the partners. Also, the location was not easy. So I really see it from the other side. I truly believe in it from the deepest part of my heart. We should change. And we already know the toolkit, but I'm wondering, what do you think when you first have seen the toolkit? Is it a practical one? And which part is the love part for you? Which is the part that you say, that's the thing that maybe this would be the first thing I would suggest for organizers like the audience and me myself? Which one is the one to start with? Because I'm afraid to use the whole thing would be maybe a very big step, but of course that's at least the plan and the goal.
Well, I won't tell you it's bad because I've been part of the people writing it. So for me, it's a great tool, of course. No, but it's great because it helps you to ask yourself the good questions. Like, and of course, the first version, we have improved it a lot since the work we've done over the past 2 years. I really like the 7 principles part because it helps you to understand a bit what's at stake, and basically, it doesn't matter if you are a small, big, middle event size. It's always coming back to the same principles: biodiversity, transport emissions, catering. I'm forgetting them now, but yeah, all of the 7 principles we had, and we have also this step-by-step guide, which is also, I think, great to help you preparing, because, sorry to repeat that again, but it doesn't cost much more to do it more responsible. It's just a question of planning, anticipation, organization, adjusting the governance, human coordination, because what you have to keep in mind that yourself and your action as an event organizer, you cannot do anything about your global impact. Because when you take the whole carbon footprint, the scope 3, basically the carbon emission which are done by all the suppliers, all the people working for you, all the spectators, it's the main part of your global carbon footprint. So if you want to act really on improving your environmental footprint, you just have to work with your suppliers, work with the spectators, the participants, and explain them the strategy. That's the only way to reduce it properly. So I think this part of the step-by-step guide in terms of planning is quite interesting also, whatever the size of your event.
Yeah, I also think this is a really good and practical toolkit for organizers. And I recommend the checklist because a lot of thing is already decided when you ask the questions about, okay, but how will we handle the transportation or the waste of food or other things. So it's better than you check before when the decisions are made. And also, I think it's really important to know about your team's knowledge of eco-friendly organizing practices. So if there is no such a knowledge, you have to give them an educational session for that. And Green Zone has the privilege to do it to the BSKs, sports event organizers, and it was a really nice thinking together, I can say, to make the mass sport events more eco-friendly.
Yeah, no, I think it's really an excellent and comprehensive toolkit. Yeah, so congratulations, it's really good, and we need to put it into action. Yeah, and as you mentioned, yeah, it is difficult. Yeah, and you face problems. Yeah, and you told me about how difficult it is to get rid of those plastic bottles, contracts and business models and things you cannot change. Yeah, but we gotta pick those fights. Yeah, and even if we fail today, yeah, we got to get up tomorrow and try again and let people know. Yeah, and I guess that is the next step, implementing it on a large scale and learning where it's easy and where it's difficult and where it's impossible, and let the world know and confront those who want to make us use plastic bottles. Yeah, otherwise nothing will change, unfortunately.
Sorry, but I counted it. It's 42 plastic bottles. And if the organizers give tap water for the participants and the audience, we can, don't use it. So,
And thank you very much. We were discussing it earlier that we, my department, with a team of experts here, we are responsible for becoming a healthy campus. And then one part of it is being environmentally friendly. And this is working, I think this is the most difficult part here at the university, especially because we have contracts for 4 years. And these projects only started 1 year ago, and the contract is still going on with 3 more years. So it's very, very hard. We have been trying hard to change this. And I just told Karim before that it's a really difficult issue, but there should be something positive. And let me tell you that we are now giving bottles to all the first-year students and also all of our students. And we are even changing the taps. We are fixing them to be able to use them with bottles. Of course, we are late with it because it's just a brand new building. 3 years ago, we finished it, and now we have to change it again. That time, the environmentally friendly way of thinking was not in the strategy, but now it has started, and you just said that probably everywhere it's just starting. But we are trying, and I think this is a good step. And being an event organizer, apart from being a teacher, I can tell you that probably in the beginning everybody is scared, because you believe that all the participants would be not happy not having these plastic bottles. They will not be happy to carry their stuff with them. But we have tried. We have tried with many events in the last 2 years, and it's working. There were no complaints. I do the evaluation after all these big mass sport events, and there were no complaints of this. There were complaints for other things, but not because they had to take their own bottles. And previously, for 10 years, we were serving them these kind of things, but we were just fed up with it. So step by step, things can work, but of course it's not easy. So I will give the word back. Yes, and then we go further, because I think we have plenty of good examples how to really push it.
So I mean, what you said and experience is absolutely right. If a lot of times, if you ask people, they are more ready for change than politicians. Yeah. And we have to keep that in mind. For politicians, it's about the lobby groups and where they get money from and stuff. But people are ready for change. And again, nobody dies if you take the plastic bottles for them, and nobody dies if you feed them a vegan diet for a few days. Yeah?
Sometimes people are surprised how tasty is the vegan food. We have experienced it in many congresses that people were surprised for the beginning, but then they start to like it even. So the next question is to all. Based on your practical experience in sport event greening, what is working well and what is not? Thank you.
Well, as we mentioned, there are much more things which are not currently working. First, I think, and we mentioned with the note we gave to the Federation with Karim, I think the level of knowledge and awareness is still extremely low. So there is a big, in France, but I guess in every European countries and everywhere in the world, like a big challenge for training and making people a bit more aware of the situation. Second point, I would say it's a poor level of governance and strategical governance also. When you see sustainability positions which are still under the communication department, well, get out and get away. It's not a good sign. Yeah, sustainability should be included from the start, because it all starts with procurement, with responsible buying, with tenders, with sustainable criteria, how you work with the people you pick up, the supplier, how you choose them. So that's really important. And the third point, which is not going well, is the level of measurement, audit and measurement right now. Like the carbon footprint calculation is absolutely key to know exactly where you start, where you are, and what should be the strategy to act on the most important pillars to reduce your emissions. And right now it's still quite low. But as I mentioned, and I try to remain positive a bit, there have been some improvements over the past few years, that's for sure. It's not going fast enough, but we have more and more regulations at the European and national levels. For instance, in France, we have the Loi AGEC, which is talking about the end of life of the product. So you cannot now buy and product something that you will throw away without thinking about the end of life. So that's quite important. You have also more and more tools like this. It has been mentioned also before to help people understand a bit better this global environmental footprint. We have more and more NGOs, charities, associations working on the end of life, the waste management. If we can just check the next slide, maybe. Third slide, you will see in the previous one, yeah, you are the first one to see that. This is material from the Olympics. I received that yesterday, so the people working on that have just finished. So you can see some closes from the fence dressing banner, some PVC banner transformed in sport bag, and some. So we have a bit more actions and a bit more things to do on that. And as I mentioned, the biodiversity topic is now more and more important, and we talk about it. What we didn't talk about it like 4 years ago, so it's still getting a bit better.
Yeah, I pick up this because it's made by the banner waste from the World Athletic Championships. So it's a really nice bag. I really like it. What is missing? Here in Hungary, this service is missing, I can say, because there's no such a providers to handle these waste or transportation problems. I think there's not that much possibility to rent bike ranks, for example, and also to handle the food waste in an eco-friendly way. So, and the connections is not working well. So the change is in here, would be here, and we have to somehow more understand each other, as you mentioned, the organizers and the service providers, to do the event more greener.
Yeah, so let's start with what doesn't work well. Yeah, when we look at the international climate agreements, we went from the Rio Agreement to the Kyoto I Agreement to the Kyoto II Agreement, and now we have the Paris Agreement. And none of those resulted in reduced carbon emissions. The opposite is true. Yeah, and they were all built on the idea that everybody does a voluntary pledge. So we learned from this, voluntary pledges simply don't work. And they don't work with nations, and they will not work with FIFA, and they will not work with IOC, because they all have other business models, other interests, and they start greenwashing. Yeah. So lesson learned, it cannot be voluntary. It needs to be mandatory. Yeah. And if a federation does not comply, it will not get any money from the government, period. Yeah, France is moving in this direction with voluntary pledges now. Sport England is considering that if a federation wants funding, they need to present clear-cut goals. Yeah, we need to independently review if they achieve those goals. Yeah, so if we have more binding commitments, then things will probably work. What is working quite well? I see more and more people are saying, I have enough now. I throw a fit. I'm not complying. Yeah, and that's what we need. Also within the organizations, it's sometimes a very lonely fight. Yeah, also in my department, yeah, a few people are on my side and a few other people hate me. Yeah, but the whole thing is not a popularity contest. Yeah, it's about the future of our children and grandchildren, and we got to fight.
Just to enter this voluntary pledge, I completely agree. There is one example which is quite good, and I always mention to my students. when I'm teaching. It's the Formula E. So I don't know if you know that. It's basically the big cars we've seen, but electric ones. And this is the only sport actors and sport federation which has managed to commit to reduce by 45% their emissions by 2030. So in 5 years, they committed like 10 years ago. And well, they are, just to give you, we'll have a debate on this right after. But basically, they have been forcing all the teams to get into the environmental accreditation process they've started with the International Auto Federation. So basically, if you are a team like Renault, Mercedes, Alpine, whatever, and you can't get into the process and you can't show that you are reducing your carbon footprint, you just cannot participate anymore. And they've done the same thing with their suppliers because they understood that their world carbon footprint was 96% scope 3, which is basically all the suppliers, the spectators, transport, etc. So if you don't involve the whole value chain, there is no way you can reach a specific amount. And so for the suppliers, it was the same. If the suppliers were not involved in this accreditation environmental process, if they were not reaching 3 stars, they just couldn't bid anymore, and you can't win contract with them anymore.
Sorry again, do you know how they produce electricity? With fossil fuels. Ouch.
Well, I think the tough part of the discussion is going to be in the break. But I think it's always a fight inside ourselves as well. Being, for instance, an outdoor person, and then if we all are out in outdoors, then we are really not friendly with nature. And then we organize events because we want to force people or actually want to make them move more and becoming more active. But then we should promote probably being more local than global, probably. And also, I'm happy that I see in the audience some policymakers or some people from policymaking, because as far as I listened to you, it came to my mind that policy and kind of mandatory things could work a little bit better than voluntary things. That's quite clear. We all know it from academics as well. So now, since time is running, the last question from me, and then after that the audience is coming. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to pose it. So the last one: how can supportive materials such as the City Green Go toolkit be used effectively in your network? So what's the plan with this material in your hands now?
Well, as I mentioned, I think it's still crucial to raise awareness regarding the level of knowledge of every people and stakeholders working in sports. And I think this toolkit and some others are really giving concrete methodology and call to action, and that's the key for me. You have a lot of people that want to do something, but they don't know where to start. So for event organizers, for municipalities, for public authorities, I do think this can be useful, and asking yourself the good questions, trying to set up the priorities, because it's also complex when we talk about carbon footprint. Sometimes, of course, transport, it's always one of the key, but then after you have plenty of elements entering into the equation, so it gives you, I think, a good basis to start thinking about the main pillars you want to act on.
As I mentioned, Zöld Vezet is working on other events as well, and as a member of the Hungarian Event Organizer Association, we would like to extend the reach of this toolkit, because it can be used for other events as well. Maybe we have to do some modification to dedicate it to conferences or festivals, and we can reach our goal to make the events more sustainable with the toolkit.
Yeah, now, as I said before, I guess it's now about trying to put it to use, learn from it, yeah, and then probably push for policies that using the toolkit is mandatory, more or less. Yeah, these are the next steps we got to take, and maybe it needs another European project to just, we have the product and now we need to disseminate it and adjust it maybe a little bit. Yeah, but then yeah, these are natural, important steps forward.
Thank you. I can also promise you that we are going to teach it here. I'm the teacher of a sport event organizing subject for leisure sport, not mass sport, or mass sport events, not top sport events. And last year we had a lecture already about it, but it was voluntary to read the material and it was not in the exam. But now it's clear that it should be on the exam as well. So if there are students, then be scared, because it's going to be mandatory to read it and also to know it. Because I think, and I believe that you are absolutely correct, we have to be stronger in this pushing forward, because we don't have time. But we do have time for some questions from the audience, so please feel free to ask now from our panelists. And then also, probably we have a few questions online, I don't know, but if we do, then we also have time for those. Is there any questions from the audience, please? If not, can come later. Yes, there is one, please.
Yeah, so my question is to Karim. The question is how a sustainable Olympic Games would look like for you. Because this is a global event and the transportation is a critical part of it, building all the necessary facilities as well.
No, thank you for the question, and you anticipate already the answer, right? I don't think we can have winter games anymore. Yeah, and so making Olympic Summer Games more sustainable probably means shrinking those, less participants, yeah, less sports, yeah, and then probably the next question is, why should we do those Summer Games then in the global north again, like Paris or Germany wants to apply for Summer Games. They have the facilities already, and then they have even more facilities. So if we would want the Summer Games to promote equality on a global scale, then we should host them in the global south, because they lack the facilities. Yeah, but yeah, it's very tricky. They look probably very, very different. But then again, it's very easy. The studies show there's almost no city where you can have winter games in the next 50 years. Yeah, there will be a lack of snow. And now they will have the Asian Winter Games in Saudi Arabia in a few years. There is no snow at all, 100% artificial snow. Yeah, and we can't continue with this. It's impossible.
Thank you. I like the idea that the big top sport events and also mass sport events can raise the awareness of being environmentally more friendly and sustainable, and we could see some good examples. But of course, we do have the question, and I think all of us questioning, like, is it really necessary to go for extremes like having winter games in really warm countries or so much crazy things? But maybe we believe it's crazy, but for some it's normal. So I think the debate is going on, but hopefully step by step people are going to change. And we do have another interesting question, and I will ask Reka to pose it.
Yes, thank you, because we got it online, and I would like to encourage our viewers who are following us online that you can also pose your questions online. This is a bit tricky, I'm just reading it out loud. How do you ensure that an intersectional gender equality approach is taken into account? Because we should all contribute to ecological sustainability as part of an integrated approach with equality. I think this is a question for Karim, but feel free to reply, any of you.
No, thank you for this question. Absolutely right. Yeah, and the whole climate change topic is the greatest injustice of our time. Yeah, and it starts with recognizing who has a high carbon footprint, and it's the global north. And who's suffering the consequences? The global south. Yeah. So a step to ensure intersectionality, yeah, in all directions is that basically the global north has to cut emissions first, drastically, not by a little bit. Yeah. So that the leftover carbon budget that we have can be used up by the global south. Yeah. I guess that is the main thing that we can do when it comes to climate justice.
And we have time for one last question before we close this session. So if anyone has one, then please feel free. If not, then I would like to ask a take-home message from all of you after all these great discussions.
What was the question, sorry?
Just a take-home message to the audience. So what is your suggestion in one sentence? So what is the thing that you think that's the final conclusion of today's panel?
Hope you are not too depressed about what we said, first. Second, don't forget that sustainability is, we are talking about environmental impact, but social impact the same. And when we talk about this, acting alone is never working. When we talk about sustainability, you have to think global and keep in mind that basically whatever the size of the event you organize, whatever if it's the local Budapest tennis tournament with 20 people or the championship, the World Athletic Championship, you are working on the same principles, same methodology, and you have to involve all your stakeholders. It starts with always with the procurement, with the people you are working with, the sustainable criteria you put at heart, and that's the only way, of course, to basically implement a strategy which will work and which will be impactful. And of course, as we mentioned already, transport is one of the biggest things to tackle. When you are doing an event, you are always doing an event on a specific territory. So you have to work with the public authorities to build up strong public transport strategies to make sure that basically you are reducing this part. And to answer the earlier question about the Olympics, well, I think, yes, we have to reduce. That's the biggest thing to keep in mind. The FIFA World Cup with 48 teams now next time in the US, it doesn't make any sense regarding the challenges we are facing. But I think we might come to a moment where the big event organizer will maybe save some tickets, and let's say, like, I don't know, 80% of the stadium should be filled by people living basically less than 80 kilometers away. And it's not that complicated to do. I understand it's complicated for some people in South America who are basically saving money for 4 years to see the World Cup in Qatar, but we can't do that anymore, for sure.
As a leader of an NGO, I would say every step counts. So if you would like to change one thing in your life now, for example, leave your car at home and go by bus, or change your PET bottle to a refillable bottle, then go for it. And a little wave will make a bigger one and a bigger one. So that's my recommendations. Just do it.
I joined the climate movement 5 or 6 years ago, and there's a very good saying that people have. Hope dies, action begins. And I guess that's how we have to see it. We are running out of time. It's very urgently. We got to act.
Thank you very, very much. I hope that everyone enjoyed this discussion. Thank you very much for all the panelists. Please clap your hands. And let's get into action as well. Have a 5 minutes break, and please do not go very far. We are going on with the Hungarian session, but the topic is the same, but it's going to be in Hungarian. But before you go, Réka would like to close the session officially. And I will ask the panelists to...
Yes, just give me one more second, dear colleagues, because we have a questionnaire for you that I would like you to scan with your phones. Please give us a feedback by scanning the first QR code. This will be a short questionnaire that will help us to evaluate this conference, our work, also the quality of the presentations. And for later on, you find the QR code also for the toolkit, but this you find also on the website. So I would give you 2 minutes for this. And after that, we won't return back, I think. So this is an official goodbye, an official thank all for our speakers or for the participants and listeners who were here on site and online. Big thanks for our moderator, who I would like to give also a little gift. Gyöngyvér, it was really a pleasure having you as a moderator.
I will use it and students can check it if I really use it.
So thank you, and please fill in the questionnaire. See you around.